Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Before we get into a discussion about peace in the Middle East, I'd like a little bit of perspective from our next guest on peace on America's streets. As per the No Kings temper tantrums over the weekend, Trump was asked on Air Force One about them, and this is what he had to say, including as to the accusation that he is a king, dictator, tyrant, Hitler, Mussolini, Pol Pot, Stalin, etc.
I think it's a joke. I looked at the people. They're not representative of this country. And I looked at all the brand new signs paid for, I guess it was paid for by Soros and other radical left lunatics. It looks like it was. We're checking it out. The demonstrations were very small, very ineffective, and the people were whacked out. When you look at those people, those are not representative of the people of our country.
Mr. President, besides San Francisco...
By the way, I'm not a king. I'm not a king. I work my ass off to make our country great. That's all it is. I'm not a king at all.
Peter Berkowitz is a senior fellow at the Hoover Institution, former director of policy planning at the State Department. His writings are posted at peterberkowitz.com. He's also got a new book out, Explaining Israel, the Jewish State, the Middle East, and America. Peter, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Great to be with you. Thanks.
So the No Kings performances over the weekend, your perspective in light of President Trump's comments that they're perhaps not representative of anything other than the base of the opposition party.
Well, I think that's an accurate depiction. They are. I think the numbers were from Atlanta with a big rally. That it was a 90% white crowd in a region where almost half the population is African American. We know from observation that it's a much older crowd, and we do know that there's a lot of funding from outside sources, and we do know that the accusation that Donald Trump is a king is not in touch with reality.
Turning attention to the Middle East, of course, with the conflict over the weekend in which two Israeli soldiers were killed, and there was a back and forth about the resumption of aid to Gaza. Is this a time now where we need to see those Arab countries intercede more formally to ensure that Hamas is disarmed and that we can move forward on the 20-point plan?
Well, you're right. Disarming Hamas is a key part of phase 2 of the Trump peace plan, and you're right too that it calls for. I think the peace plan refers to it as an international stabilization force. It will be composed of a number of Arab and Muslim nations too. Azerbaijan is going to give soldiers. Indonesia has volunteered to give soldiers, and you're right that this is the crux of the matter. If Hamas is not disarmed, if Hamas is not fully eliminated as a fighting force and a governing force in Gaza, no peace will come to the Gazan people, no peace will come to the Israelis, and the plan will fall apart.
And so, what is your handle, or what do you think is the trigger or the signal that those majority Muslim countries are going to do the lifting that is required of them?
Well, let's put it this way. The challenge is a very big one, because the truth is there are no soldiers in the world who are more skilled at, have greater experience in fighting with Hamas, tracking them down, eliminating them than the Israelis. Emiratis, Saudis, Azerbaijanis, Indonesians will come in from elsewhere. They won't have acquired the same skills. Moreover, they don't have the same interests that the Israelis do. For the Israelis, it's life and death. So I myself am actually worried about this international stabilization force. But what are the first steps? The first steps are that involve Hamas actually completing its obligations for Phase 1. Phase 1 called for it to release not only all 20 living hostages, but the bodies of the 28 deceased. They've only released. They have not yet released half of those. So actually, as you know, Special Envoy Witkoff, Jared Kushner, head of Central Command, they're in Israel right now. And J.D. Vance, Vice President Vance, is arriving today, or has already arrived, in the hopes of getting Israel and Hamas through the first phase of the peace agreement.
Well, it seems to me, certainly the U.S. would be happy to outsource this to Israel, the disarming of Hamas, if it's required by force. President Trump all but said that when he said no boots on the ground. And many of the Arab countries probably would as well, so as to not put their soldiers in harm's way. But I suppose the question is, can those Arab countries, legitimately telegraph that they're outsourcing this to Israel? Can they get away with that politically?
Excuse me. At this stage, I don't think they're going to be able to get away with that politically. That is, the peace plan very explicitly, as you know, calls for this international stabilization force. But I think what you're suggesting is that this aspect of the peace plan is going to cause big problems for all sides. Is right. For their lack of experience, and because for the Israelis, I left out a point. For the Israelis are accustomed to entering promptly when they see a problem. But now there's going to be a kind of buffer between the Israelis and the Hamas targets. That is the International Stabilization Force. So let's put it this way. Bottom line, we're going to need the most effective, the most deft diplomacy and military coordination led by the United States with these Arab and Muslim nations in order to make this international stabilization force work.
And that includes providing security for the aid that is distributed in Gaza so that it's not pilfered by Hamas, correct?
Very much so. The problem was terrible earlier in the war when Hamas had thousands more fighters. They are now to a significant extent hunkered down in tunnels. But one of the reasons the ceasefire is so fragile is because Hamas has been emerging from its tunnels. Hamas has been reasserting control over Gaza. Hamas has been engaging in executions of people they think have collaborated with the Israelis. And in general, their gunmen are roaming the Gaza Strip, letting the Palestinian population know who's still in control.
Your perspective on Qatar, this sort of key player, and every time we turn around, we're hearing more about Qatar, whether it's extension campuses of American universities in Doha, or it's a airfield in Idaho. How should we understand Qatar in sort of this larger group of Arab countries that are providing this stabilization force to help implement the peace plan, as you were describing, and also just in its direct relationship with the United States?
We should understand Qatar as a key player. I believe that had Qatar not put pressure on the Hamas leadership, the United States would not have secured this important deal that won the release of the hostages. But Qatar plays a double game for some of the reasons you've already mentioned, not least through its funding publication of Al Jazeera, one of the main organs for the promulgation of Islamic extremism. So what I'd like to see as a show of good faith by Qatar and a show of force by the United States is the United States win an agreement from Qatar to expel the remainder of Hamas leadership from Doha, from the five-star luxury hotels in which the billionaire leadership of Hamas dwells. This would show that that Qatar is playing less of a double game and is more on our side.
Do you believe that Qatar is a country that really does mainly want to modernize and leverage its wealth to be a bigger presence in the global conversation, economically, culturally, that their interest is not fundamentally theocratic or expansionist in nature, other than in terms of status and sort of geopolitical sway?
Actually, I think that our great dilemma is that Qatar's ambitions are both. No doubt they want to, and they have been modernizing. A visit to Doha, photographs of Doha show this. Their conduct on the world stage shows this. But they continue to make friends with the Muslim Brotherhood. They continue to propagate anti-American, anti-Western propaganda. They continue to provide support for Hamas. So it's not a simple case for the United States, but I would like to see us do more to bring them onto the side of modernity in the West, and urge them, even compel them, to abandon the support for Islamic extremism.
Just in terms of the messaging piece of this, because there was scuttlebutt about Bibi, the Israeli government, employing the aid of what we call, I guess, social media influencers these days. Mm-hmm. And, of course, there's lots of rumors that surround Qatar in terms of who they may be paying on the right side of the political spectrum to advance perhaps less than redeeming characterizations of Israel. What is your take on that, the sort of the social media, media personality, influencer messaging wars that are going on? And that's sort of a multilateral dynamic too.
The Qataris have enormous sums of money. Their leadership is extremely sophisticated in the ways of the 21st century. There is Qatari money, as you've begun to indicate, spread throughout the United States. And as you're also indicating, there are serious accusations that has been spread around in Israel, including among advisors to Prime Minister Netanyahu. That's under investigation. But what we do know in general is that the Qataris are sophisticated, like many other countries, sophisticated users of social media, backed by huge sums of money. And I think that the United States must raise its alertness about how the Qataris use social media.
And so, I mean, sort of the net for you in terms of where things stand, and even perspective on as far as they have come to this point. Is it guarded optimism? I mean, you have to have a healthy level of skepticism because we know the history in the region, but by the same token, what is the choice? This is the best option available to pursue.
I do think that is the best option available today to pursue, but my general approach to politics in the Middle East is that all options are bad. So this is both the best option to pursue and a very bad option fraught with extraordinary difficulties that is going to take extraordinary vigilance on all parties, but especially the Israelis who live in the combat zone.
Peter Berkowitz, Senior Fellow at the Hoover Institution, former Director of Policy Planning at the State Department. You can get his writings at peterberkowitz.com, and you can also get his new book, which is entitled Explaining Israel, the Jewish State, the Middle East, and America. Peter Berkowitz, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And he joins us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If you have an IRA or 401k, this is a message